Is it okay for a man to have multiple wives, or is it okay for a woman to have multiple husbands? Was God intention when he created man for them to have multiple spouses? What does the Bible say about polygamy, or an individual who has multiple spouses, whether that's multiple wives or multiple husbands? If you're tuning in today, I want to welcome you to this YouTube channel. My name is Cameron Bracey, and I am a servant of the Lord here at Cameron Bracey Ministries. And today we are going to talk about polygamy. Yes, polygamy. We're going to talk about what does it mean. We're going to address this issue that I see many celebrities starting to talk about. I see some popular athletes are trying to make it okay, think that having multiple spouses or multiple girlfriends or boyfriends is okay, and that men in the Bible had multiple wives. We're going to address this today and exactly what the Bible says about it and what God's original intention for marriage was. Okay, so polygamy. I think this is a word that some people may not be familiar with, and some of you may very well be. But if you are not, what is polygamy, or a polygamous relationship? It is simply the practice of having multiple spouses at the same time. So a polygamous relationship is any man who has multiple wives at the same time, meaning he's married to multiple women, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 women at the same time, or it can be a woman. Even though this is rare, you don't really hear this, a woman who is married to multiple men, okay, all at the same time. So she has multiple husbands all at the same time. That is a polygamous relationship. Now, when was the first instance of polygamy in the Bible? Some may say in history. So I'm going to go by the Bible, because we have Genesis, which was clearly the beginning of time. Genesis chapter 4, verse 19, you will find the first instance of polygamy. This is when Lamech took 2 wives, and his 2 wives' names were Ada and Zillah. Okay, Ada and Zillah. Now, the popular question that a lot of people ask, let's get right into it. Did God create man to have multiple spouses at the same time? And the answer is no. No. God did not create man to have multiple spouses, whether you're a male and having multiple wives, or you're a female having multiple husbands. God did not intend for that. Notice here, he created Adam and Eve. He created Adam and Eve. He created Eve out of the ribs of Adam. He didn't create Eve out of one rib, Rebecca out of another rib, Rachel out of another rib, Deborah out of another rib, Ruth or Esther out of another rib. He created Eve. Okay? So for anyone that says, well, hold on a minute, maybe this is what God meant when he created man. No, it's not. Because if that was the case, Adam would have had multiple wives. But you even see in Genesis, from the beginning of time, Adam had one wife. One wife. Eve had one husband, and that was Adam. We need to remember that 2 became one flesh. Not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6. It was 2 who became one flesh. So, for example, you have Adam and Eve, you have Isaac and Rebekah, Peter had one wife, and Jesus has one bride, the church. Jesus doesn't have multiple brides. And I know that we are all different individuals, and people will say, well, how can Jesus be married to you, but also to me? The church is one bride, okay? Jesus has one bride. He does not have multiple. Genesis chapter 2, verse 24 says, therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Notice here, a man shall leave his. When you read that, it is singular form, not plural. It doesn't say when men leave their. No, it says when a man. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother. Notice it doesn't say his fathers and mothers. Okay, because again, the Marriage is between one man and one woman, and he shall be joined to his wife, not wives, y'all. Don't let this culture, don't let this generation, don't let people deceive you into thinking that you can be married to multiple people at the same time and that God is okay with it. He is not. God never intended for man to have multiple spouses at once, okay? And he goes on to say, they shall become one flesh. One flesh. In Matthew chapter 19, verses 5-6, Jesus said, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife. And the two, not the three, not the four, not the five, not the six, not the seven, the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Not the 3, not the 10, not the 11, the 2, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. Now, why is it that people try to make polygamy okay? Or why is it that you hear some men today? Because it's honestly more common amongst men who want to have multiple spouses. This is all about pleasure, y'all. It's all about the flesh. It has nothing to do with serving. It has nothing to do with proving that you can be committed to multiple wives, okay? Better than any other man. No. This is all about pleasure. The root of this is lust, okay? It's lust. And many of these men who try to promote polygamy or who try to say, hey, it's okay, the Bible, even in the Bible, you see these great men who had multiple wives. Y'all have to remember, these men are acting outside of a place of lust, self-gratification. This is not how God designed marriage. God designed marriage to be between one man and one woman. The two come together to become one flesh. So I just told you all what God said here, because then people have an issue when Apostle Paul says it. Apostle Paul said in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 2, nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Each man should have his own wife, and each woman should have her own husband. There should not be multiple. There should not be a group of them. One husband, one wife. Now, some may say, well, there's got to be some pros in having multiple wives or multiple husbands. I mean, a lot of men who, again, are lustful would think, just think about the pleasure and the self-gratification. And that's why I say this comes from a place of lust. This is a fleshly desire. There are no pros in a polygamous relationship. However, there are many cons. Con number 1, it goes against God's intended design for marriage. It goes against God's intended design for marriage. I've been saying this entire video. God intended marriage to be between one man and one woman. The two shall become one flesh. Number 2, it can promote envy. Envy. For example, Sarah and Hagar were envious of one another. Sarah was envious of Hagar because of the fact that Abraham had a child with Hagar, and Sarah's womb had been closed all these years. But then Hagar became envious of Sarah because it was obvious that Abraham loved Sarah more than he did Hagar. You also see the same thing between Rachel and Leah. The Bible makes it clear in multiple passages that Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah. And you also see it in the relationship between Elkanah, Hannah, and Peninnah. The Bible makes it clear that Elkanah, who was the father of Samuel, he loved Hannah, the mother of Samuel, more than he did Peninnah, okay? It promotes envy. The Bible even says how Peninnah spoke many condescending things to Hannah. This was out of place of envy. James 3:16 says, for where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. There's confusion in polygamous relationships. There's confusion When a man has multiple wives or a woman has multiple husbands, there is envy there. And James makes it clear, where envy and self-seeking exist, confusion and every evil thing are there. Every evil thing, not a few. Number 3, the third con to polygamy is inequality. For example, Jacob loved Rachel, Elkanah loved Hannah. Cameron, what do you mean inequality? What else? Because you just gave us those examples when it came to envy. Colossians chapter 3, verses 18 through 19 says, wives, submit to your husbands. Submit to your own husbands. Forgive me. Wives, submit to your own husbands, as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and do not be bitter toward them. Some may say, well, there goes the plural usage of wives and husbands. But Paul was speaking to a group of individuals here. Okay. So he wasn't trying to make it singular. He was speaking to a group of individuals here. Each wife is to submit to her own husband, and each husband is to love his own wife. How can a wife be submissive to multiple men at the same time? If one man desires this and another man desires that, or one man feels this is the direction his family should go, and another man says, no, this is the direction this family should go, or vice versa. If one wife feels that she's not being shown the necessary affection and she doesn't feel loved, how is he supposed to show that to her when he clearly loves one more than the other? It's evil. There's confusion. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 3, let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife of her husband. How can a man render the appropriate amount of affection to multiple women at the same time? How can a woman render the appropriate amount of affection to her husband if she's married to multiple men at the same time? Somebody is going to feel like they are not being shown enough affection, enough love. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5, do not deprive one another. Because like I said, a lot of people that are in polygamous relationships, it stems from the root of lust, self-gratification. It's a fleshly desire. If you have multiple wives or if you have multiple husbands, there are going to be some who are deprived of their needs. And yes, we're speaking sexually here. There are going to be some who are deprived sexually. There are going to be some wives who feel deprived. There are going to be some husbands who feel deprived. You can't meet each need. This is why God never intended marriage to be between multiple spouses. And last but not least, strife between children. David had multiple wives, at least 6 or 7. You will see that as a result, there was strife that came amongst some of his children, specifically between Amnon and Absalom and Adonijah and Solomon. There will even be warfare and confusion and division in a man's own household. So for those of you tuning in today who are curious just about the simple question, hey, is it okay to have multiple spouses? Is it okay to be in a polygamous relationship? The plain and simple answer is no. The two shall become one flesh. As the scripture says here, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. Polygamy is not of the Lord. Polygamy is evil. So be committed to one wife and be committed to one husband. God bless you all.